Hey everybody, I'm Jack and this is Raw Tropical Living. Thanks for joining me today. You know, after I forget how long exactly I've been doing this channel, but after 2.5 years more or less, because I think I'd been about a year into my veganism, raw veganism, so more or less 2.5 years, I've just finally come to a conclusion here. You know, I really want to, it's funny, if you saw me kind of thinking the furrowing of my brow and what was going on in my head, when people ask me questions when it relates to health, staying on the raw vegan lifestyle, losing weight or whatever, man, you don't know how deep I dig. I really try to dig within my experience to give whatever help I can. And I've thrown out a strategy here, do this there. Here's a good tip. Here's how you get to raw vegan, or here's how you get to high carb vegan. And I think, I've just been ignoring what's been slapping me in the face this whole time. I think the reason it's been easy for me, and I've had a much easier time, I've just never been able to figure it out. It's like, I kind of consider myself, I'm a screw up. So I don't judge, I do judge things by me, but I don't judge them from a high standard. I judge them from a low standard. I just always give people the benefit of the doubt that they got more going on up in here and in willpower and determination and stuff than me. I've always been a slacker. So what is that one ingredient that maybe I have that other people don't? And it's not, I know some people, it's like, dude, get over me being in the tropics. I live down here. Don't hate on me for that. I get so many people giving snarky comments on social media about, hey, I just live here. Don't be so jealous, because if you're thinking, oh, rich gringo living it, I don't live high living, I'm living, most people, if you came and saw my living situation, you would probably think, oh, poor guy, we probably need to take up a collection for him because, 51-year-old guys don't live this. So it's kind of a trade-off. That's what I'm trying to get at. It's not like I was somebody with a bunch of money that came down here and is living the pimp lifestyle. I don't drive a car. So, but even saying all that, I don't think the tropics is actually the biggest factor. It may just be my lifestyle. And I think in this specific case, being a loner and not being a very social person has worked out really good for me. And it's hard. I can't really imagine because even I did a video recently about going out to dinner, and I can't really imagine it because I haven't done it. What other people are going through. Now I know from my perspective, there might be some temptations, but all my friends are really cool about it. So. Even if I was more social, I don't see anybody giving me a hard time, but there is the temptation factor. And that's what I'm going to touch on a little bit today, is that maybe, like everybody's going to say, not everybody can live in the tropics. You're not going to just pack up your suitcase and go to somewhere. And like I say, it's not really so much the tropics as it is a certain lifestyle. And that could actually be done in a lot of different places. Now, you're probably not going to sequester yourself completely. Some of you have kids. Some of you have, maybe your spouse or you have work obligations and work work-related social obligations. But I guess what I'm going to say is the biggest thing, and just maybe go with this train of thought from there, is maybe you've got to approach this. I didn't have to do that with the alcohol, but maybe you have to approach this like people that have a drinking problem and stop drinking alcohol. Maybe you have to, at least for a period of time, as you're adjusting to this lifestyle, maybe you can't be around those friends. I'm not saying you cut everybody and they're out of your life. It's just the same thing, Maybe if you're not comfortable telling them about food, make up an excuse. But I don't think anybody would be shy if they were quitting drinking, if they had a drinking problem and they were telling people, in this period where I'm trying to quit drinking or where I'm not real steady on that, it's better if I don't, come to this gathering. And most people would understand that. And I don't know, like I say, that's the only missing component. Like I talk to people, I've had people a number of times write me about losing weight or about why, helping them to stick on this raw vegan thing. And sometimes I feel almost kind of embarrassed, okay, I don't have enough knowledge to help them. But yeah, my experience has just been a really simple one. Mine is not like this deep, detailed book learning where I can tell you, all the components of this food and that food and how this works and that works. Mine has just been an experiment as I go. But yeah, that would be one of my big tips. Is just like you got to kind of pull yourself out of the social situations until I can't tell you do it for 3 months, do it for 6 months, do it for 10 years. That's going to be personal to you. That's going to be when you feel comfortable going back to those social situations. Now, I wasn't really in a social situation, but when I quit drinking, and I was a heavy drinker for 30 plus years, I didn't have the call to do the booze. And I was working a sports related job and had to go to a sports bar around the bar from my house to keep up with the sports, to watch it. I didn't have a problem with that. But I do know a lot of friends that have, done the AA thing, 12-step stuff, and they have to change their life for a certain amount of time. So you have to decide. Now, this may sound extreme, and I mean, I'm sure somebody will come across this video and go, this guy's nuts, for eating, you're going to stop your life. But it depends on how much you want it, how serious you are about it. In other words, how serious you are about getting the goals that you say you're not getting under your current circumstances. Maybe you have to batten down. Maybe you have to restart on this program and do that now. And just, you got to drop out. You can't go out with I'm not saying never do it again. And I'm not saying, become a loner like me. I mean, I'm a very weird and strange and different individual. I would never tell anybody to be like me because that's a little bizarre and I wouldn't wish that on other people. But so I'm not saying you're going to cut off your friends forever and never socialize again. All I'm saying is maybe you got to curb that socializing, until you get strong on the lifestyle, until you don't have the temptations of, other foods or drinking or whatever it is. Like I say, I can go out now. I don't have a bit of problem with that. Even if my old favorite foods, all my old favorite foods are there, it's just not a big deal. So yeah, that might be something to think about, is pulling yourself out of your current social situations, your day to day. Now for the people now there's another one that's not so much social, but it is about people being around you. And I don't have really a clear-cut suggestion for you on this one, but that's the ones that are still, I don't mean that are cooking vegan cooked food, but the ones that are cooking that nasty standard American diet for their families. God, I don't know. I guess I just got to tell you to do the best that you can. I mean, I'm a little hardcore. I would probably, when you're in a family situation, you can't just say, nope, I went this way. This isn't going to be in this house anymore. But you might think about, if you're the cook in the house and you're not eating cooked and you don't like cooking animal carcass and animal products, maybe you need to reassign the cooking task to people that do want to eat animal products and animal carcass. Yeah, makes sense, doesn't it? Maybe you don't cook it anymore. I don't know if that's, I don't want to step into your family situation. People are touchy when it has to do with that. So just suggestions. Everything I ever do is a suggestion. It's not, I think I understand where a lot of people don't, is that on this planet we're roughly, I don't know the population, but we're 7 billion individual people. So, we're all organisms that work differently. Yeah, we have similarities, but we work differently. So I can't tell you, what you need to do in that situation. But basically, just to wrap this up, when you're talking, what about the bigger theme of it, I guess, when you're talking about avoiding the social, especially in the beginning, and, maybe even around your house, making some new rules or just setting some boundaries. Don't try to make it rules where it's like I eat like this now, and my mind way of thinking dominates the household. But, hey, what can we talk? I'm eating a different way now. Maybe we can, make some allowances for each other. But, yeah, that would just be it in a bigger picture, like I say, for both of those situations, whether it's social or you're living in a household with people that bring temptations to you, is just like, I guess you're going to have to eliminate those temptations as much as possible in your life under your circumstances. Because otherwise, I can't really see any difference in this. Like I say, I'm a drunk. I was, and I think this is going to be an ebook. I did a video a good while back called Fried Chicken and Beer to Raw Vegan. Literally, 4 years ago, I was getting 6 or 7, 8 pieces of fried chicken and a 6-pack of beer and taking them back to a dirtbag hotel. I'm not like, I was always overweight as a kid. It's not like I'm some lean guy that has an easy time losing weight. Yes, I've always been fairly healthy. I haven't been a sick person, but yeah, there you go. you just got to do what you got to do. And that's like the best I can come up with in my head, because I just, I try to, when people tell me stuff, I think they look to me like maybe I can come up with some sort of an answer. But within my personal experience, this has been the easiest health program, eating program. I don't like to call it diet, but yeah, what you're eating is a diet that I've ever done in my life. It just like, it just seemed really natural. But like I say, always pay attention to my lifestyle. I'm a strange person. I'm even way stranger than I come across on the camera. I'm a fierce loner. So I was sequestered. And also too, when I went raw vegan, I was in a place where I don't have a car. I was in the city then. And a lot of times I just didn't keep any bad food in my house. There's no temptations, because after about 6 or 7 o'clock at night, it was a nice long little haul to get to any food. So if it wasn't in my house, it wasn't like I was going to hop in the car and go get something. So anyhow, best I can do. Just another little thought that might help you break through, maybe applies to your situation, maybe it doesn't. Anyhow, if you guys like this video, give me a thumbs up. Hope you'll subscribe to the channel, and hope you're having a great hump day. Peace.